Inside this United States courtroom for the Western District of Oklahoma, the lives of 97 immigrants changed forever. Together, they represented 38 countries outside of the U.S. borders.
People's Republic of China, Colombia, Cuba, Mexico,
They take an oath that those born in the United States never had to take. Their pledge is something not many of us have ever read or heard.
The applicants will please raise your right hands and repeat after me, please. I hereby declare on oath.
I hereby declare on oath
That I will bear arms on behalf of the United States.
that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States
When required by the law.
when required by the law,
Without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. Be seated.
And with that oath, they became United States citizens. For many, the journey to this day took a decade or more, beginning with permanent resident status. They received what is commonly called a green card.
I came to the U.S. in 2000, and it took us about 10 unbroken years. It's a long process to come over here. It's very expensive, and it took a very long time.
I've been over here in Oklahoma almost all my life. I got here when I was 19 years old. I'm 50 right now.
Margaret DeSoy Jackson was born in Liberia. She is a wife, a mother of 2 American-born children, and she has a career in nursing.
I have an income, a home, a car, and of course, maybe I would have never had that back home because I am from a very poor family back home. I never, ever dreamed of the life that I have right now. I am too blessed to be in this country.
She is living the American dream, and so are the others here on this day. But for this young man, the idea of citizenship is out of reach.
So it's American dream. I guess it's the land of the free, but it's hard to obtain that freedom. It's not easy to obtain that freedom.
He doesn't want us to use his real name because he is undocumented. He came to Oklahoma from Mexico when he was only 7 years old. He remembers the perilous journey with his brother and mother. Their lives were in the hands of smugglers who abused them.
They robbed all my family. They took all their money. They took all our money. They put out a machete on us, and they wanted all the money. They said they were going to kill us if we didn't give them the money. At that point, I was pretty scared. I just saw my mother just standing there paralyzed, not knowing what to do.
His fellow student came here with his parents when he was 8.
They risked our lives by walking the desert 26 hours, and we ran out of water. We ran into some people that robbed us.
Today, both attend Tulsa Community College. About 272 undocumented students are attending Oklahoma public colleges, according to data from the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education. The students in this meeting room are part of a group of young people called Dreamers. They're going to school without the hope of getting a job when they finish because they don't have what they call the 9 numbers, a Social Security card.
Some of them that I've met, they don't even know they're undocumented until they have to go to college and they realize that they don't have a social.
Tracy Medina is the president of the Hispanic Student Association. She and Christopher Fernandez were both born in the United States and are now allies to fellow students who are undocumented.
All I wanted to do was just get a high school diploma. Well, these kids were getting 4.0s for it and everything, and they're working their whole life. They were, excellent citizens in the community, just to find out they can't do nothing.
They're working to get proposed federal legislation called the DREAM Act passed. It would give legal status to students going to college or who join the military. Then as graduates, they could pursue citizenship, a process that takes many years. As it stands now, the students must go back to Mexico to gain citizenship, even though they didn't make the decision to come here.
When that baby grows up and becomes older than 19, because it has to be over the age of 18. After 18, they've been illegally here for more than a year. If that person leaves, he or she cannot come back for 10 years.
Amir Farzaneh is a leading immigration attorney in Oklahoma. So is Elizabeth McCormick, a professor at the University of Tulsa Law School, who also heads up a legal clinic for undocumented Oklahomans.
Many people don't know that non-citizens of the United States can't petition. Generally speaking, they can't petition for themselves to come to the United States. Someone has to be in the United States, either an employer or a family member who identifies them and says, yes, I want this person to come to the United States. I'm filing a petition and sponsor them.
McCormick and Farzaneh agree that the entire immigration code is broken and needs to be fixed. Farzaneh explains there are only so many immigrant visas available each year. That has created a waiting list that is hard to comprehend.
For Mexico, if you are a U.S. citizen and you petition for your unmarried son or daughter, today there are visa numbers available if you filed before 1993. In August of 2011, green cards are available, or visa numbers are available, for brothers and sisters of Filipinos who applied on or before, are you ready, May 15 of 1988. That's 23 years. Chances are, by the time a visa number is available to that brother or sister is going to be really, really old.
He says the first immigration reform that must be made is to undo something Congress did in 1996.
In 1996, the Congress came up with a law named Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. And what Congress did at that time was coming up with a locking mechanism. They killed a law that would have allowed people to get a green card from inside the U.S. And therefore, if anybody became illegal, to become legal again, they had to leave the U.S. and come back. In addition, in 1996, Congress decided that if anybody has been unlawfully present in the U.S. for 1 year and leaves the U.S., that person cannot come back for 10 years. And if they do, they can never ever stay in the U.S. legally again.
According to Farzaneh, this creates a locking mechanism that forces many aliens who are eligible for legal status to break the law by staying in the U.S. illegally and working without authorization. He says that locking mechanism is one of the main contributors to the very large population of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. now, many of whom would be here legally if it were not for the 1996 law. Farzaneh also believes reforms are needed for work visas. Alejandro Gonzalez is working on a farm in northeast Oklahoma. He is allowed here because he has an H-2A work visa. Gonzalez leaves his wife and children behind in Mexico and works here 10 months a year. His sponsor is Chad Selman.
The paperwork is a big problem. It's very lengthy. It takes a lot of time, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to get it right the first time.
Selman says the process needs to be much easier. Still, he says the time and money spent on hiring immigrant workers is something he must do.
It's the only way we can really get any labor on our farm. We've tried before without it, and without it I was spending more time going back and forth to town trying to find workers, spending thousands and thousands of dollars on advertising.
Selman says in the last 5 years only one Oklahoman took his job offer, and he stayed just 2 weeks and only wanted to work 8 hours a day. Selman says Gonzalez and the others he hires through the H-2A program have incredible work ethics.
When they get here, they're here, they want to work 7 days a week. They'd rather do that than work 5 days a week. They don't want to work 8 hours a day, they want to work 12 hours a day.
Gonzalez is paid a little more than $9 an hour. He sends most of his money back to his family. Here he can work 11 hours a day and make more than $100 a day.
El dinero aquí más o menos por 2 semanas aquí, por dinero 2 semanas allá.
No, es una diferencia grande.
It's a big difference.
Sí.
Gonzalez says the most he could make in Mexico for a full day's work is $15. He told us he gets to keep all the money he makes here because he doesn't pay taxes. But according to the lawyers we talked to, undocumented workers in Oklahoma do pay taxes.
The IRS doesn't care if you're working without authorization. They want you to pay taxes, and you're required by federal law to pay taxes on your income. Many people who work without authorization in the United States pay taxes, right? They work for employers who withhold taxes, they file federal income tax returns, they have a taxpayer identification number that's issued to them by the IRS.
These young dreamers who want successful careers that require a college education say it would be a privilege to pay taxes. They just want the chance to do better than their parents.
I just thought to myself, you gotta do better than them. You gotta sacrifice, because they have sacrificed even more than you have. So.
But right now, he and many other undocumented immigrants can only dream and hope for a day like this.
'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the